Can you tell us a little bit about Narrativ and what inspired you to found Narrativ specifically?
Okay, so I'd love to tell you the story. So, I'm standing in front of a white door in the basement of a building on Willoughby Street in Brooklyn. And on the door is a laboratory specimen box with a kind of skull and crossbones on it. And it says, dangerous, hazardous human waste material. And I walk in, vinyl floors, everything smells of pine sol, and I go into my supervisor's office. He says to me, Murray, you're not a clinical psychologist anymore. Leave that behind you. This is an AIDS program. People come here during the day, and your job is to help people come to terms with the fact that they are dying. Now, the year is 1994, and this is before the cocktail came out that has totally changed the face of the AIDS epidemic worldwide. So then people had no medications and people were dying. And he said to me, you have to do anything that you can to help these people come to terms with the fact that they are dying. So I go back out and meet the patients in the program. They were called clients, actually. I go out and meet the clients in the program. And one of them is a man who tells me that he wants to get married. I say to him, you have 7 T cells. Most of us have 1,000. You may not live very long at all. How can you do this to a woman, get married to her, when you may die very soon? I went back to my supervisor. I said, this man is in denial. He doesn't realize what's happening to him. He's on death's doorstep. My supervisor says to me, Murray, you have to start with where the client is, not with your own fixed assumptions about what's good or bad for them. It's his life. Meet the woman who he's going to marry or wants to marry, talk to her and see where they stand. So I called her into the office. She said to me, I don't care how long he lives. He deserves to die knowing that he was loved. So 2 weeks later, there I stood at a funeral home in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, looking at his body in an open casket and in his wedding suit. And there she was, and she said to me, I've just got married and I'm already a widow. She said, but at least he died knowing that he was loved. So I went back and my approach to my clients changed. I began to ask them how they felt. You know, like, what's it like to be you? How are you feeling? Well, they rolled their eyes at me and said, what kind of question is that, Murray? How would you feel if you knew you were dying? I mean, honestly, what are they teaching you there? I was doing my PhD in social work at the time, and, you know, I was supposed to know how to communicate with these clients. Anyhow, I went back to my supervisor and I said to him, you know, these patients don't have any insight. I can't do therapy with them. He said, this is not about doing therapy. You have to leave what you knew behind, and you have to learn what they need. Now, learning can be very humbling. You come into a clinic like that with a set of expertise as a clinical psychologist. All of a sudden, none of that works. Therapy doesn't work. Telling them, interpreting how they feel doesn't work. What am I going to do? I was left with the only thing that I could do. Listen. I stopped doing anything. And I just listened and I observed, because that's how you learn. And what did I notice? What did I learn? I learned that people were dying every week in that program. Sometimes 2 people would die in a week. And 2 days later, their belongings would show up in the secretary's office in a black garbage bag. And nobody came to claim those garbage bags. So people were dying, leaving nothing behind. No one was coming to claim what they had. And for those who were still living, they saw, that's what's going to become of me when I die. I'm going to end up in a black garbage bag too. And my name's going to end up being one of those endless names engraved on a little brass plate the size of a packet of chewing gum. So I said to my supervisor, I think I should start a storytelling group here. And my job would just be to listen to the client's stories, and their job would be to tell their stories. So one of the clients said to me, "Oh, Murray, give me a break. I'm a crack addict, for God's sake. I've spent my entire life in the alleys of Brooklyn scoring crack. That's not a story." I said, "Yes, that is a story. That's your story, and your only job is to say what happened to you. And I guarantee you I won't interrupt. I won't ask you how you feel. I won't tell you what to do. I will simply listen to your story, because this is your life, this is what happened to you, and you deserve for your story to go out into the future to all of those of us who listen." So she came in alone to my storytelling group, and then she went back out into the common room and said, "You know that guy, Murray? He might be a white South African, but you can trust him." And by Christmas of 1994, my storytelling group was filled with people listening and telling stories. And one woman came to me and said to me, "Murray, my daughter will never know me. She's 3 years old and I'm going to die before she ever knows me. Could you make a videotape of my story?" And I did that. And then all the clients in the program wanted videotapes that they could leave behind as their legacy. And in early '95, when the New York state legislators were threatening cutbacks to people with HIV and AIDS, my clients went up to Albany and they left their videotapes on the desks of the legislators. And they said, "You listen to my story and then tell me I don't deserve services." And it's those stories, not only the stories of my clients, but all the stories that were told during that period by AIDS activists all over the world. It's those personal stories that changed the face of the epidemic. It wasn't the statistics, it wasn't the numbers, it wasn't the graphs, it was the stories that touched people's hearts. And that is the basis of the work that I still do today. In all the work that I do in corporations, in all the work that I do in organizations, when I'm teaching in the narrative medicine program at Columbia, this is what I teach: how to listen and tell personal stories.